At 19, you were arrested by the DEA, and at one point, you were on the run, and then you became a stripper?
Yes, that's true. I just remember being on the floor crying. My eyes are swollen. Every single crevice of mine is just tears and water and drool and snot. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. He kicked us out of our second home. He took my only car, took all my clothes, and we never saw him again. My daughter was 1. She's 15 now. Probably a couple years ago, she asked me, did he know me? And I said, yeah, he did. She said, he did? And he still left? Why? And
a person is only as strong as their word, but every day, the world dares you to break it. Integrity with Red Shea is for the ones who refuse to do so. Red spent 12 years in federal prison because he wouldn't break his word. Now, he's talking with people who've done the same. From their battles, you'll see how to stand tall when everything around you falls. Because in a world hell-bent on destroying you, your integrity is the only thing that will protect you. This is Integrity with Red Shea.
I tell everybody except for my daughter, get to rock bottom as fast as you can because you've got nothing left to lose. You're not afraid of anything. In my opinion, the quickest way to heal from a very traumatic past is to...
So Candi, at 19 and 23, you were arrested by the DEA, and then later on you became a stripper, and at one point you were on the run and you didn't even know you were on the run.
Yes, that's true.
Before we get into all that, tell the audience who you are as a person and where you came from.
So I was born in Atlanta, grew up in Atlanta mostly, lived in and out of Florida my childhood. And, had a good family life for the most part. My parents got divorced when I was 1. Mom remarried when I was about 5. My stepdad raised me. He was a great stepfather growing up as a child. We went to church. I played sports, close family life, lots of friends, normal stuff.
So a good Christian family.
Yes, very close. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. My parents bought our clothes on layaway, and they had their first house was rent to own, and so we were just a very close family. Not a lot of money, but I didn't know it. I was just a child, and everything was good. Everything was pretty good.
Yeah, my mom bought me clothes on layaway also.
Yeah.
You didn't have a lot of money, so it was a great way to to get clothing, but also I'm sure they charge a little more percentage on that than back in those days, But
yeah.
So please go ahead, continue.
And so everything was really good until high school, and that's where things took a turn for the worse for me. I ended up becoming the target of extreme bullying in high school, and this went on for about 2 years. So it was really bad. I was really shy growing up, and we had moved a couple times in between that. So I had to start over at a couple different schools. So I didn't have my friends from childhood, and I kind of was bouncing around in schools, and I ended up immediately becoming bullied by the girls in the grade above me. And it really took a toll on me. And by the second year, not only was it still going on, but the girls in my grade had joined in to be part of it. 2 of my best friends turned their back on me for no reason, just to be part of the mean girl clique. And one of the craziest things was my cousin was actually best friends with the girls that started it. And, I don't know how to explain it, but it started with, just normal bullying, like kids being mean. It was just the girls, though, whispering, talking about me, leaving notes in my locker, like threatening notes. We didn't have social media back then, so this was just, normal, normal bullying, but it started to escalate, and by the second year, they vandalized my parents' property, our home, the car. They wrote the letters BITCH in shaving cream, so every day I came home I had to see this, name that they were calling me, and I started withdrawing really quickly. So I
And how old were you at this time?
So I was 14 and then 15 in the second year. And I started withdrawing. I started acting out. I wasn't sweet anymore. You know, I stopped. I quit sports. I quit going to church. I started fighting with my two fathers. I have a stepfather that was there raising me.
And your biological dad.
And my biological dad, yeah. I ended up going, and it was kind of towards the end of the second year of being bullied. And my mom, they knew what was going on, but my mom didn't really, I don't think she really knew. She knew, but she didn't know. And there wasn't really a lot they could do at the time. We didn't have school choice and all that. And I don't think she knew how bad it was, how bad it was affecting me. But I just remember just starting to hate everything.
So she never really indulged in, like, you know, and like asking you questions about, you know, how bad is it? And
she would sit there and hold me, like, basically on the bed. I was crying every day after school. I mean, you know, I was a sensitive, you know, shy, hurting teen, and you know, when your friends turn on you like that, like.
And
that,
so did she try to protect you in any other way?
She did. I mean, she tried to get my dad to call my aunt and have my aunt talk to my cousin, and I don't really know if any of that really ever happened. When they vandalized the property, we had to get the police involved. And finally, one of the guys from the football team came forward, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to tell you something." They came and they asked us to go and vandalize the house with them, but we said no, and I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you. I just, you know, he was a kid, you know. He said, I'm sorry, I just didn't know. And so then we found out who had done it, and then we had to get the police involved and the attorneys involved, and the girls almost had felony charges, but my mom decided to drop them to a misdemeanor because she didn't want to ruin the rest of their lives over it. And so, you know, but my life I felt like was already ruined because, you know, I think it's really important to talk about bullying because a lot of kids are still are killing themselves over being bullied. You know, they don't have anywhere to go now, especially with the internet being so prevalent.
Sure.
You know, I ended up leaving and going to another school finally in my junior year. They finally got me transferred to another school, but by that time I was already shutting down. I was acting out. Like I said, I hated everybody. And I started to hate myself because the girls would just tell me, you know, how, you know, worthless I was and how nobody wanted me. And, you know, I mean, you know, and I felt like you know, at that time, you know, my friends are turning on me, my own cousin's not standing up for me. And I'm like, you know, my two father, I went to visit my dad, like he kicked me out, you know, because I didn't obey his rules. And me and my stepfather were fighting a lot at home, and I just went crazy. And when I say I went crazy, like I just started drinking and drugs and hanging with boys. And
What kind of drugs?
We started smoking weed. I was drinking heavily. We did everything. I started smoking crack. My friend met some guy, and we ended up going to this shady Motel 8, smoking crack with some middle-aged dude. I'm like, I can't even imagine. I have a 15-year-old now, like my kid doing that, like that I did that, not even thinking about the consequences or what could have happened to me.
And you were 15 at the time.
I was 15 or 16. I think it was about 16 at that time because I had started going to this other school my junior year. But that's when I started skipping school, and like I said, I was drinking and drugs and boys
and that leads into other stuff.
Yeah, I ended up, you know, going. I mean, I started doing cocaine. I started doing ecstasy. I did everything but heroin. Yeah, and I started dating drug dealers. Again, I had just gone, you know, completely like good girl to just bad girl in a matter of a couple of years, just because I was in so much pain, you know, and I was just a hurting teen. I didn't know how to deal with it, you know, looking back. I wish I would have dealt with it differently, but I didn't know. I just was trying to cover it.
You were trying to cope with the pain.
Yeah, I was trying to cover it up, you know, and I didn't want to feel the pain. and the easiest way to numb it was to do all those things, but it only made it feel better while I was doing it. I started dating guys that, you know, were bad, you know.
Bad boys.
Bad boys. I wasn't going to church
Like I
anymore.
used to be.
Yeah, yeah. My first boyfriend ended up going to a halfway house. My second boyfriend went to jail. And then my third went to prison. Fourth went to prison. And then finally the fifth guy, he also went to prison, but he's the one that I got arrested with by the DEA. So, 19 years old, I was hanging out with some guy, knowing, yes, we were doing drugs.
And how old was he?
He was 28. He was 28. A lot of the other guys were older, 32, some were 40. I mean, again, I'm hanging out with, I used to hang out with people a lot older than me, just, I guess, I don't know, you know.
You felt that you didn't feel any challenge from them. That's most likely, right? Because of the age difference? Or they treated you differently than your peers at your own age?
I don't know. I mean, you know, drug dealers, girls like me were dating drug dealers for one reason. We wanted drugs when we were having a good time. They wanted a pretty girl. It just went, you know. You know, I ended up, we were going to a lot of strip clubs because that's what drug dealers do. And, you know.
Not all drug dealers.
Not all of them.
No, I didn't frequent them.
You didn't?
I can tell you that. No.
Okay, I didn't know if that's just a thing. Maybe it's different with my mafia guys.
Possibly, but I'm sure well, I don't know about that. I know knew some mafia guys that used to go to strip clubs, but it wasn't my shtick, if you will.
Yeah, you know, the guys that I hung out with, you know, you see all these things on TV. You see the Italian mafia, or you see, you know, the gangbangers, you know, the Bloods and the Crips. You see, you know, my favorite, you know, Narcos, right? I mean, I'm always into all of those stories, you know. It's just, they make for good stories.
Sure.
Not so much when they're getting busted, but.
Yeah, and a little exciting too, right?
They're exciting, yeah. And the whole life was exciting, you know. It was exciting. And then it wasn't.
So you got indicted too. You got arrested also.
So I did. So these guys, though, I was gonna say they were like rednecks from Georgia. So I just want to throw that out there, like, for everybody that's listening. Like, this was unlike any movie you've ever seen. In fact, I think they're making a Netflix show about it because it was one of the biggest busts in the Southeast for the largest ecstasy ring bust. And yeah, my ex was the head guy, but yes.
So what happened with that case? What happened with you?
Okay, so I was arrested at 19 the first time. And then my boyfriend at the time told me, don't worry about it, I'm gonna take care of it. We'll get the attorney to take care of it. So I didn't even tell my parents because I was afraid to tell my parents.
Sure, 19, you know. Yeah.
So I sort of forgot about it, and then kind of went on with my life. You know, got arrested again for underage drinking at 20. No big deal at this point. And then at 23, I was trying to get my life together, and I had, you know. Were
you convicted?
Okay, so
of the crime?
At 23, when I got arrested again, I was charged, and I ended up I was a conditional felon.
So you weren't charged the first time?
I was just booked, I guess, arrested and booked. They didn't come and get me until 4 years later.
Oh.
So
it was a lot. Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
So they do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're building the case and they're trying to get more evidence.
Yes, and these guys were on the run. I think some of them are still on the run, but they did end up catching my boyfriend, and that's when they wanted me to come in. I guess they were just like ready for whatever they could try to throw at this guy. But yeah, that was at the age of 23 when I was on the run, apparently, and didn't know I was on the run, because I had moved away from Georgia and moved down to Florida, and then I had a court date, and then I had missed it. So now I had a felony warrant out for my arrest, and when I went home to see one of my oldest brothers graduate, later that night around 12 a.m., they called my house. They asked for me by my first name, which I don't go by. And my mom was like, yeah, she's here. And then all of a sudden, click. And all of a sudden, the house is surrounded by DEA agents. And this time, they had a knock warrant. The first time, they didn't. The first time, they just busted through the door when we were all hanging out high as shit. But this time, 4 years later, I'm at my parents' house. And all of a sudden, now they open the door, and the DEA just swarms in. And it, shackles me. It like feet, waist, hands, everything.
Oh, yeah, I've been through that.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm sure you were probably more scared than me. But I was pretty scared.
I wasn't too scared. I was preconditioned.
Okay, maybe I was more scared because I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you didn't know that was going to happen to you,
I didn't.
For me, I was preconditioned. I knew something eventually could happen to me like that, and so I was conditioned and ready for it. So it's kind of like a boxer training for a fight, right?
Yeah.
So, or an athlete training for a sport.
Yeah.
Basically, that's how I handled it. But go on and tell me, what happened with the case with you? Did they charge you? Did the charges get dropped? Or?
So I ended up having to stay in jail for almost a month. They said there's no bail. You're not getting out. You're going to go to prison. I had been charged. I actually had been charged. I'm sorry, it's been a while. I had been charged with possession of ecstasy. Okay, but they came at me and they were like, we're gonna, you're looking at 20 years, and I was like, but I honestly didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't distribute it.
No, but I didn't know. I didn't even know that the guy that I was dating was this big ringleader. I really didn't know. He never did a deal in front of me. He never, that was smart on his part.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have. A smart man that would do that.
Yeah. So I mean, all I knew was, they had already had all these pictures of us,
Pictures don't
showing us,
yeah.
Showing that we seen you traveling here and there and all that, and I was just like, I don't. All I know is that we did a lot of drugs, we had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of sex. And that's what I told him in court, And I was like, that was about it, because that's really all we did.
Sure.
That was it. So
yeah.
I ended up getting finally, they let me out on a conditional felony. So they said, we're gonna let you out. You're only 19, you've never been in trouble before, and you need to finish this probation, and if you do, then you'll get the felony dropped. So at that point, I was like, well, I lost my job because I couldn't get out of jail to go back. And now I was like, I'm definitely not getting a job because that question they always ask, are you a felon?
Are you a felon? Yep.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay.
They still ask that question every time on everything that you do, everything. Yeah. Forget about if you want to be an Uber driver.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't going to happen, right?
Yeah. Honestly, forget about it if you want to work for almost anybody, right? I mean, unless you're going to be a contractor or I don't know. But mostly you can't get a job if you're a felon. So
yeah. It makes it tougher for people that are trying to actually change your lives and be a better person. They restrict them from actually trying to be that better person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a shame. They should really try to take the restrictions on that down a level or two.
I think so. I think so, because how are they going to be reformed or want to do better when there's a ceiling?
Exactly.
I think that they should definitely do a lot more for people who've been locked up, because obviously we got locked up because we didn't make good decisions. So maybe somebody should teach us how to possibly make better decisions, or how to love ourselves more, or how to believe in ourselves more. But no, the system keeps us down.
There's
on
no doubt
purpose.
about that. It's a revolving door.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't wasn't part of the revolve, if you will. But so you get out of jail. You had a felony against you. What? How did you deal with your life then? What was your course then in your life?
So I said, well, I guess I would go back to stripping. I mean, I had been stripping since 19, and I never really walked away from it. I tried to, but the money was just so good, and I was just like, I'll go back to stripping. It's what I know. It's what I can do. I can make money. It's really hard. I tell everybody when you've
Was
been...
it just the money?
Yeah.
Just the money. You didn't. There wasn't any feeling like, hey, listen, I feel great up here because it's just me and people who actually want to come see me.
Actually, I struggled with that a lot. I struggled mentally with being a stripper. So every day I had to go in. I had to I got high. I did cocaine all the time, drank all the time, just to be able to be in that
And
lifestyle.
What do you think? Why do you think that struggle was?
Because of the way I was raised. I always felt, that's when I started feeling really a lot of shame.
Because you came from a good family.
Yeah. I started hating myself, and I couldn't get out of it. It was a cycle. It's hard to walk away from that money,
Sure.
It's like...
Well, it's like being a drug dealer. I mean, it's addictive,
Yeah.
and hundreds of thousands of dollars, weekly, a few $100,000, in a bag full of money. I mean, that's addictive,
Yeah. I wasn't making hundreds of thousands, but I was making thousands every night, and that
Sure.
you don't walk and do another job,
Right.
especially having a felon on your record, and it's really hard. So I stayed there for a while, and I did a lot of drugs, and I did a lot of things that I mentally that I struggled with. Like, I struggled.
So being a stripper in that profession, do you think that's the drugs and stripping go hand in hand? Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, drug dealers date strippers. And well, from my experience, that's what I experienced, A lot of my stripper friends had drug dealer boyfriends, and all the guys that came into the club, they always had drugs, and we wanted the drugs, And maybe if they weren't a drug dealer, at least they got the drugs, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I really liked doing I don't know if I really liked it, but I did them all the time, And again, I think it was just a cycle. I couldn't really get out of it because of, like, I would drink and do drugs so much, and I mean, at some points, like, I OD'd, and then I would just, I would vomit, trying to, instead of continuing to drink, I would just cold turkey try to stop, and then I'd just be throwing up all day long, not even knowing how serious it is to try to stop drinking. That was another thing. Like, thank God I lived through that. But it was so hard. And then after a couple days, I said, "Oh, I'm good again. I'm gonna drink again. I need to go back to work." And I started hating myself a lot. I hated who I was, and I hated who I had become. And so I started feeling that there's no way out. There's no way out of this. What am I gonna do? I can't. What am I gonna do? That's kind of what I was thinking for a while. And then I met this guy another guy who I fell in love with, who was really my best friend. And, I thought he was going to be the man that I married. I was going to, I left the club for him.
Show you a better life?
Yeah.
Give you a better life, however you want to say it or look at it?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I fell hard for him. I fell in love with him. I never really, except for my high school sweetheart, never really been in love. And it seemed perfect, and about, 6, 9, 12 months into the relationship, he became abusive. And so I had left the club for him, And I was like, okay, we're gonna move away. I'm gonna get a real job. I'm gonna make this work. I love you. And I'm gonna make something in my life. And he then became abusive. And so that went on for about 4 years.
Physically?
Not physical at first. At first it was just verbal and mental and emotional. So a lot of, well, definitely the words, you know, after, the way it started though, is that it just started with arguing, right? And then the arguments got worse and worse and worse for those people wondering why we don't leave. They don't just straight out the gates come at you with everything they've got. It's a manipulative process. And I was so in love with him. You know, we had waited for months to be intimate. And for me, I thought that I was doing good, you know, at that. We started going to church, you know. I thought we were doing everything we were supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to marry your best friend, you know, wait to be intimate, get to know each other, go to church. He was perfect. He was perfect until he wasn't. And then, you know, then the arguments, then he started emotionally with, like, he would give me the silent treatment. And then he started telling me, you know, how dumb I was. And like, you're just a stupid bitch. You know, you're just a dirty, used up stripper. Nobody's gonna ever want a girl like you. And he took everything that I felt bad about, and then he started using it against me. So I didn't know it at the time, but now I can see it. He took everything that I told him that I felt bad about, and he turned it on me, and I didn't even know that that's what he was doing. And so I would just cry and apologize.
So mentally he come after you abusively.
Yeah.
And did he start getting physical?
So he did. So then he started, the physical started turning into just him choking me, strangling me, pushing me down on the ground, you know, pushing me up against the wall.
Most likely because you resisted his abusiveness. And then he probably figured he had to do more now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it all happened. It just kind of happened. And then I was so in love with him. I was so addicted to him. Leaving him just like hurt me. You know, we would break up and get back together, and then we ended up moving in together. And I don't know, I believed the words that he was saying. I believed nobody would want a girl like me. So maybe it is my fault. You know, I was drinking a lot at the time, so I was like, well, maybe I did something stupid last night. Maybe he's right, you know, or...
You were second guessing yourself.
Yeah, I was second guessing. So I stayed with him, and it got worse and worse and worse until one night he told me he was gonna kill me. And he told me that he wanted to kill me, that he wanted me to die. And that night, I remember being in that room, and he was this tall, blonde, 6'2", you know, he was Ken, I was Barbie, right? You know, Barbie was my nickname in jail, by the way. But that's what all the girls gave me. You know, it just seemed perfect. And then that night, you know, his baby blue eyes just turned black. And I just remember just feeling like I'm in the room with evil, you know, I might die tonight, is what I thought. And I just remember trying to tell him to come, like, you know, trying to get him to come back. You know, he was so checked out, and he just kept telling me, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. I want you to die. I want you to die. And he had been real mean all the other years, but he had never really said those words to me, and I thought...
So he had some real issues that you never knew about.
No. Mm-mm. No. So after that, I ended up finally finding the courage to leave him, and it was really hard. And that was not the hardest thing to leave him. It was hard. It was extremely hard. I went into a deep depression. I lost like 25 pounds in a month. I mean, I thought I was dying of a broken heart, you know.
Sure.
My home was in pre-foreclosure because I had stopped dancing, and I was trying to make it, but I couldn't make it doing what I was doing. And I just remember sitting, one of the darkest times in my life, I'm sitting in my house by myself, alone, isolated. My house is in pre-foreclosure. I'm like, all I can show for myself is that I'm a felon. I was a stripper. I have no college degree. I have nothing to show for myself. My life is never going to get better. I don't see any hope for my future. And I think he's right. Who is ever going to want a girl like me? And I just thought maybe I should kill myself.
Well, how did you finally get away from him? How'd that transpire?
I mean, after that night.
Did you walk away? Did you kick him out?
No, I ran away that night because I had to run away from him because I think, and I don't know what anybody else's faith beliefs are, but I feel like divine intervention somehow stepped in that night and held him in place because he never let me go. He never let me leave. And somehow I just remember he was blocking the door to the room. And as I kept inching closer to him, trying to tell him, you know, I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be like this. We could fix this, doing whatever I could to try to calm him down.
Yeah, calm him down.
De-escalate it.
Because you didn't want him,
I didn't know if he was going to strangle me to death that night,
Yep.
And I just remember getting close to him, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to make a dash for it. And I remember running under his arm without my shoes on and out the front door, and I just ran for miles. And he never came after me.
And where did you go from there?
Well, my house wasn't too far down the road, so it was actually a couple miles.
Did he come to the house?
Not that night.
Not that night.
Not that night. He came another night.
And how'd that work out?
Well, that night I had met another guy at a bar. This was probably, I don't know, a month or two later. And the guy was there. And I just remember him beating on the door, and I told that guy, you better go. He's going to kill you if he comes in here. And so that guy ended up, it's funny now, it wasn't funny then, but sneaking out the back door of my house and leaving, and then my boyfriend, ex, whatever, he broke the door down, he kicked it down, and he came in, and he was like, where is he? And I was like, we're not even dating anymore, like, what are you doing here? And he didn't kill me. He didn't touch me that night. Thank God, but that was the last time I saw him. Well, for a while.
So you seen him again after that? Did he try to rekindle the relationship?
So I rebounded with a guy. I met another guy, and I always say, like, men are the downfall of my existence, but I still love y'all. And I rebounded with this guy. I, at the time, had been, so when I left my abusive ex, after that night of thinking that I was going to kill myself, and a few of those nights, I ended up finally, praying to God, please help me, because I can't do this anymore on my own, and I really thought I was going to take my life, and I just needed some help. I needed some sort of higher power help because I had tried.
It's funny how when you're in a bad situation and you have nowhere else to turn,
yes,
that you say, Jesus, help me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I did. I just remember being on the floor crying, and it was so, I was crying, my eyes are swollen, and I'm crying so hard I just have drool, just coming out of my mouth onto the floor. Like every single crevice of mine is just tears and water and drool and snot, all kinds of stuff. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I need some help. So if you're there, please help me. And that actually was the changing of everything, and when I finally got up, the next day, I mean, I didn't become, perfect overnight or anything, but I had the strength to go on after that.
So by you doing that, it's almost like you were like saying, let's say, because you prayed for it, right? It's almost like saying God had finally was waiting for me.
Yeah, he was. He was, for sure. He was waiting for me.
How beautiful is that?
It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful story of the faith the help that God has given to me in my life to be able to sit here with you right now, you know, to be able to share my story, to write a book, to talk about all the things. I felt like God obviously was shaping me to be able to come and share my story, to help others.
Well,
but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it then.
It's funny how the paths in life that some of us take, and they can be really devastating and challenging, as in yours, right? But somehow you make it through.
Yeah.
God has his way of channeling you through that life for a reason, because he sees something in you, and he's saying, if she goes through all this challenge, and she has these challenges, and she makes it through, then she can give it and try to help other people later on, right?
Yeah, and I can see it now, but I couldn't see it at the time.
Exactly.
And again, my mom was always there. Oh, honey, God's just shaping your character. And I just remember crying. I don't need any more character, Mom.
I got enough character.
Enough character. I'm done with this.
Could you give me some character without any pain?
And then the truth is, no. You don't build the character without the pain. You just don't.
Exactly.
You don't.
Exactly.
And so I remember that was the beginning of everything for me. After that, I ended up going to my closet, and this is how I got my real estate investing career started. I thought, well, it's literally live or die for me right now. I have nothing to lose. I've got nothing. And I always joke about this. I tell everybody except for my daughter, get to rock bottom as fast as you can, because I don't want my daughter to go through what I went through. But rock bottom changes you, because when you get to rock bottom and you've got nothing left to lose, you know, you're not afraid of anything anymore.
Nope.
And it's a scary place to be, but it's also very liberating, somehow, after the fact, not while you're going through it. And that's when I ended up going to my closet, pulled out this real estate investing book for this seminar I had been to a few years back, and I followed it like front to back. And I ended up putting a house under contract, flipping it within 45 days, making $7,000 and saving my home from foreclosure.
Not easy to take that test either.
Well, this was not a real estate agent test. This was real estate investing.
Oh,
I actually got into flipping.
That's even better.
Yes. So I ended up flipping a house and making $7,000 and saving my home from foreclosure. And I also never went back to the club after that. So I was like, okay, I got a new path. I can do this. You know, because the voices in my head are telling me go back to the club, you know, go back to him. Yeah,
but that guy upstairs that you prayed to.
Yes. And so that was great for me. I needed a win. I needed something, and I ended up going back to church, getting some free counseling, reading a bunch of self-help books and all that stuff. I ended up flipping a ton of homes, and everything was good for a while. And then I met another guy. And this
another guy.
Yes. So this was the guy that I rebounded with after the abusive ex. And he was everything. He was completely different from my ex. He was like short. My ex was tall. My ex was really good looking. He was like, but he was very smart. And so I was really attracted to his brain. So I thought, well, let's try this guy. He's different than the guys I normally try. I mean, date. You know, he wasn't an ex-con, or
he wasn't a bad boy.
He wasn't a bad boy. Right. And so I thought, let's try this guy. He was kind of boring, to be honest. But he made a lot of money, and I thought,
And you figured it was safe.
I figured it was safe.
And it was a better avenue instead of chasing that bad boy.
I did. And I also thought, isn't this what every girl wants? Don't they want to date guys with all this money and can do all these things? And so I kind of thought, well, let's just try this life. That life didn't make me happy either. All the money in the world, all the Versace, all the Prada, all the Gucci, all the trips, all the cars, none of it made me happy because I didn't love them. And because I still didn't love myself, right? And I ended up getting pregnant. And about a year after my daughter was born, he asked me to marry him. We waited until after she was born. And then about a year after she was born, I was like, I can't go through with it. I don't love him. And even though I'd had a child out of wedlock, and even though I had been a stripper and all this stuff, I didn't want to get married and divorced. Like, I know, like, we all have these weird things in our head, like, I just didn't want, like, for me, my parents had been married and divorced, and I was just like, I don't want that. I know that I don't love this guy. I shouldn't marry him for the money. I shouldn't do any of that. I should just, we should, whatever. So I told him, I said, hey.
So if he had a little more spunk to him, it might have been a different story.
I didn't love him.
You didn't love him?
No. I was still hooked on my ex.
There was no flame there. No flame.
No, I was still hooked on my ex. It took me a long time.
It's funny. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think some women actually married guys and they're like, I never really loved him.
A lot of people do.
Right?
But that's because people settle.
Does that go both ways? I mean, men and women? I mean, right?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people settle thinking this is the best I'm going to get. But little do they know, they're not going to be happy.
Right.
Because how are you going to be married to somebody if you don't really love them?
Right.
I don't care how much money the guy has. And that's why I couldn't. I mean, he was a multimillionaire. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Didn't love him. So I told him, I said, it's not working out. And I thought, I really hope we can just be good co-parents. And after that, he kicked us out of our second home. He took my only car, even though he already had 3. He took all my clothes, and we never saw him again. And my daughter was 1. She's 15 now.
And she's never seen her father?
Doesn't know him, never met him. We never received a dime.
Are you shitting me?
That's the truth.
Not one nickel?
No. I ended up, I didn't have any money. And the choice was I could take my chances fighting a multimillionaire in court by a public defender, by the government. And I was like, no.
You know what?
No.
Now that you told me this, and saying you didn't love him and all that, and that's why you didn't marry him no matter how much money he had, any man that doesn't help their child or want to even know their child, forget the relationship with the mom. That's separate. Mm-hmm. That's your child.
It's
right? Why can't you go and see your child? Why can't you have a relation? You're not stopping that.
No, I wasn't. I encouraged it. I wanted him to be there.
So you know what? You made the right choice in the end.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
No, you did.
I did, yeah.
Because this guy showed no integrity.
Yeah.
He had no integrity.
No.
Any man that doesn't have a relationship with their children and just walks away, just walks away. Now I'm going out for bread and milk and never comes back and doesn't take care of their children, I have a lot of words for those type of guys.
I went through a lot of anger.
I have a lot of words for those type of guys.
Yeah.
And it isn't good.
No.
It isn't good. I don't care the relationship with the mom. You can get over that. You can get past that. You don't have to have a relationship with the mom. Your relationship is with your child.
Yeah.
Your child.
I am 100% in agreement with you. I've had to work on my anger. I mean, in the beginning, I was so angry, and I wanted revenge. I wanted,
Well, if he
stuff.
sees this interview, I want him to know that Red Shea is calling him a scumbag.
He is. He's a scumbag.
Red Shea is calling him a scumbag, because he is.
Yeah, he really is. He is.
What's his name?
No.
Yeah.
I don't say his name. I don't talk about him. I decided, when I decided to just walk away.
I like to put scumbags like that on a blast.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
I know.
Because that's exactly what they are.
I know, and I've never put them on blast.
Be a man. To all you men out there If you get children, take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Whether you get along with the wife or not, that's besides the point. You cannot deal with that. You don't have to deal with that.
Okay.
But take care of your kids. Those are your kids. That's your responsibility. Period. Take care of your kids.
Yeah.
That shit like that pisses me off.
Yeah. When I decided to walk away, half of my family was like, "What?" And the other half was like saying, "Okay, well, we'll support you." And I remember, again, just being, we would have been homeless if it weren't for my family taking us in. My family didn't have hardly any money. They were able to give us money for diapers and food and help me take care of my child. I had a couple $1,000s left in my name, and that's when I ended up having to get my real estate investing career started for the second time. But for a long time, I was angry, I was depressed, and I just kept thinking, what am I gonna do? And I kept thinking, God just kept beating me down. It's just like, why are you letting this happen to me again, God? Again, I'm blaming God for, I know it was my fault. I mean, it was not my fault. It wasn't my fault that he left his child, okay? But I don't know, I just felt like it was my fault, sort of.
It's funny because when I was a child, my father wasn't there because my father was an alcoholic. So he had left when I was very young. And he was just basically a drunk. And unfortunately, he was an addict. He was an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
He died of cirrhosis of the liver. But I remember when I was 9 years old, that knock on the door, and it was from my uncle telling my mom that my father died. Oh. Now, I didn't even know my father at all. And, but I always thought, because I was such a young kid, that it was my mother's fault.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from kids. They seem to blame one of the
right,
parents.
because kids don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know the circumstances, how the gravity in it and all that. So, I could see how you feel about that. I can see why, So that said, yeah, I mean, I always thought my mom chased him out of the house because she was so strict,
Yeah.
Like, why are you so strict? Well, no wonder why Dad don't live here, my father don't live here, So,
and that messed you up a lot.
Well,
didn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Not having a dad at home, sure.
Yeah.
But sticking to how you felt, I could see that. I could see why you feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wondered if I could have done anything different.
And how did your daughter feel about that?
Well, she didn't know anything until recently, and we started talking about it. It was a long road back to getting back on my feet.
Did she ever ask where her dad was when she was younger?
So she started asking around probably 7 or 8, and I would just say, well, you know how the Disney princesses don't all have mommies and daddies at home? And I'd say, or Cinderella only has a stepmommy and no daddy and no mommy. And in the beginning, I'd say, and Ariel only has a daddy and no mommy. Or, I'd go through all the Disney princesses. And I'd say, well, you have a mommy and no daddy, and a mommy that loves you very much. And you're very lucky to have at least one parent that loves you. My mom was adopted, and so she didn't have a mom or a dad until she was 7. And I would say things like, well, Nana didn't even have a family, until she was 7. And so you're very lucky. And then as she got older, then we had a really tough talk. And she asked me, probably a couple years ago, did he know me? And I said, yeah, he did. She said, he did? And he still left? Why? And she was crying, I was crying, and I just said, honey, I don't know why anybody would leave their child. I cannot answer that for you. But I do know that a good person never leaves their child. But I can't really answer that for you. I never threw him under the bus with her. I mean, she knew from a young age that she had always heard the story. We would have been homeless if Nana and Papa hadn't taken us in. We would have ended up in a shelter.
Well, that's a good mother.
Yeah. And so she knew that story. So then she finally put 2 and 2 together. She was like, were we going to be homeless because of him? And then I had to say, well, yeah, he took everything. And
You told her the truth.
I told her as much as she needed to know. I don't think it's, I don't want her to know really the full story until, she'll probably watch these podcasts that I'm doing now, but she's almost 16 now. So I told her, when she becomes an adult, and, she's kind of 16, 17, 18 is sort of the adult years, I mean, she's 15 right now, but she'll see these podcasts, but she's learned more about my story throughout the time. I didn't write it in detail in the book because I wasn't ready to put that part into the book, but
Candi Rose, Naked.
But I'm
on
talking
Amazon,
about
right?
It's on Amazon, but I have a link too that I'll give you that goes directly to my
Perfect.
whole thing. But yeah, so that was the difficult conversation, and I said, yeah, he left when you were 1, and she just then she asked, well, where is he? What's his name? And I said, I'm not going to tell you all that, not until you get older, and because I don't want her life being disrupted. I don't want her to reach out to him and then him be like, I don't want to have anything to do with you, which is a possibility.
Yeah, you don't want her to. You're protecting her.
Yeah.
And because she's still young.
Yeah. When she becomes an adult,
Yeah.
I told her I'll tell her a lot more things.
Sure.
And
then she'll be an adult and she'll be able to cope with it, whatever she wants to do with it, right?
Yeah. So the crazy part was, when I got pregnant with her, I went back to tell my ex I was pregnant. And that's when I saw him again. I met him. He told me that he loved me, that he was going to change, that he was changing, he would never hurt me again. He would help me raise my baby. And
now this is the blonde-headed guy,
this
right?
was my abusive ex.
The abusive
So
one.
I went to see him on purpose and tell him I was pregnant in person, because I didn't want him to hear it from somebody else. I was still thinking about his feelings, like I don't know why, but I was still in love with him, to be honest. And I just remember wanting to believe him so bad, and I told him I couldn't. And then later that night, and I'm engaged at this time, and later that night he came over to my house and he was knocking on the door, please let me in, please let me in. And I just remember I was so afraid that if I let him in, he might push me down and make me have a miscarriage. And I thought, how messed up is that? I still love this man and I'm terrified of him. And then that was the last time I saw him for a long time again. So went on, had the baby, ended up leaving him and getting my business started again. And things got better for a long time. My business actually started doing all kinds of crazy things, flipping hundreds of homes, building multi-million-dollar mansions. I did a pilot on HGTV. I almost landed that thing. And at the height of my real estate investing career, I had built a 10,000 square foot mansion in Atlanta. At the time, it was like $2.6 million. That was before inflation, okay? $2.6 million was a lot more back then. It's probably worth like 5 or 6 now. But I just remember being done with that project, and I was like, I'm miserable. I'm so unhappy. I'd built a new home for me and my kid. I was volunteering at church, and I was flipping houses, making all this money. And I was miserable, and I was thinking, what's wrong with me?
What were you missing?
I realized at that point that I was suffering still with so much shame because nobody knew this other side of me. So I had gone off the grid, no social media, nothing, while all this was going on, rebuilt my life, and I was struggling still with who I was. So I didn't.
You were struggling with your past.
I was struggling with my past big time, and I still was struggling, thinking I don't deserve this life. I don't deserve to have good things in my life. I don't deserve good men still. I was still not dating good men, because I was still thinking I was that girl, and that I was thinking, who's going to want a girl like me with my past?
Did you go into depression?
I did. I went into depression, and I realized that I had to stop running from my past. And so I ended up deciding to move my daughter and I to Spain, just because at that time I'd made a lot of money from that deal, and I thought I need to take some time and I need to figure out why I'm so unhappy. And I need to spend time with my kid, because I had been working, 80, $100 weeks as a single mom, because now because as an extremist, I'm an extremist. I'm all in or nothing, right? And as somebody that was trying to constantly prove my worth to somebody else, I was always trying to be the best. I'm always working out. I'm making the money. Everything had to be perfect, because I didn't want to crack. I didn't want somebody to see me for who I was. And so I was struggling, and I realized I've got to stop running, and I've got to face my past, and I've got to get it out. And so I started writing this book, and I never thought I was going to be a published author. I never thought I was going to be a speaker. None of that. I just knew that I needed to get it out. I needed to break the silence and the shame and the secrets and the isolation, because I couldn't find my happiness in there. And I wanted to find out who I was again. I wanted to find me.
How did you find that? How did you find it? How did you break through that?
Through writing, because when I started writing, I had to go back to everything that broke me, and I had to face it, and it was very painful. And I had to write about the bullying and the fighting with my parents, and the drugs and the drinking and the abuse and all that.
And at one point in your life, I remember you saying something about this, about that you wanted to take your own life.
Yeah, I wanted to take my life when I was, back in my 20s, leaving my abuser. And I think what happened was that shame never went away, and it began to multiply.
Manifest
Yes.
inside of you.
And it got to a point where I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I am not happy. And I didn't know it was because I needed to face my truth and speak it, to get it out. I believe that when you speak about the parts that you keep hidden, that breaks the bondage of the power of shame inside of you. And so when you do it in a safe, I didn't just start on podcast. I did it safely. I started talking about it with others in small groups. I started talking about it in therapy. I started talking about it here and there. Then I finally started making my own community and talking to people who had gone through very traumatic, situations, similar situations. And I started realizing that when I spoke my story, I had all these people lined up to come and talk to me. If I was on stage or if I'd done a video online, I would have massive, DMs, or on stage, I'd have all these people just lined up to come and talk to me. And they tell me stories they'd never told anybody, or they tell me stuff that they really never talked about. And they would say, I'm so thankful to hear your story, because you're giving me the permission to find my freedom. Like, I know if you can do it, I can do it.
See, that's the beautiful thing about having a platform like this, where I can invite people like yourself,
Yes.
who have tremendous stories, heartbreaking stories, and are able to just tell their stories on my show like you're doing now. And it's relieving for them. I know it is. As tough as it is, it's relieving. Just like writing the book. Even for me, when I was writing the book, they said, oh, it's going to be, therapeutic and all that. I'll be honest with you. It was the toughest therapy that I ever went through when I was writing this book. I'll be honest with you, because I was reliving a lot of things,
Yeah.
And I'm sure you did the same where you were writing. You were really reliving the things that you had to remember, right?
Yeah, and it's very therapeutic. I didn't know how therapeutic it was going to be. But then when you get it all out, my thing was, I want to write a book and I want to put it out there. I am done feeling shame about my life. Shame almost took my life. And I said, I'm just going to write a book and I'm going to put it out there. And then the next person I meet, if they're interested, I'm going to be like, here, just read that. And if you still like me afterwards, be all right. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't care anymore either.
Well, it's funny.
You know?
It's funny you say that. Here, you read the book. If you like me afterwards, that's great. If you don't, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But it's funny you say that because when I first met my wife, I said to her, I told her who I was. I didn't hold anything back. I told her who I was immediately. Listen, this was my life. I've done 12 straight years in prison for the wrongs I did. I accepted full responsibility. Yes, I was part of the Irish mob. And, you know, that's heavy stuff to put on somebody,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That just like you going, hey, here's my book. That's heavy stuff to put on somebody. And if you like me afterwards, that's great. But my wife took the chance. And
Yeah.
there you go. And
Yeah.
how lucky am I, you know? But it all worked out. It all worked out. And you know what? It's always good to be upfront. It's always good to be straightforward. You know, you don't need to hide anything. This is your past. This is what you've been through. Hey, shit happens. We all have a tough life, but we learn to get through it. We learn to get through it, and we learn to be better people. You know, we're not all born with a silver spoon where you know, we have everything we want and can do anything that we want, and there's no circumstances for it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think it takes.
in cases like ours, there are circumstances.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't all of a sudden just end up like this. This took me a long time to speak about everything openly. And it's a work in progress for me. And I believe that that's what everybody else should know. It's like some people are going to be okay telling things right off the bat, but others, especially if you've suffered with, you know, a lot of shame, you know, it's going to take time.
Sure.
But you're living and you're growing, and so you might as well. The point is that you can get there, and you can become happy again. You can become free from your past. You can, you know, you can turn your life around.
100%.
Even if it looks like you've got nothing, you know.
But the path that you took, as I was saying earlier, from the guy upstairs, my thought is that he gave you that path so you could help others and teach others and try to help them in their lives and show them the light, right?
Yeah, and that's my mission now, is to show others how to share the stories that they once hid in shame, how they can take that and
be a better person.
Yeah, and not only
a stronger person.
Free themselves by talking about it, but then showing others how to also free themselves, and it just becomes this domino effect of, oh, we're not alone. You know, there's a lot of us out here messed up, you know. It's just nobody talks about it. I mean, we're starting to talk about it more and more with all the podcasts and stuff. But growing up, when I grew up, nobody talked about it. This wasn't, you know, this wasn't available back then.
It was almost taboo.
Yes, and so that's, you know, that's the whole reason for all of this.
Now your life has changed. You've written a book, and what are you doing now?
So now I'm speaking.
Okay.
I actually just landed a TEDx stage, which I'll be on in January, so that's exciting.
Oh, awesome.
I get to go and share my message with literally the world. But I'm going on meeting a lot of amazing people like you, and just trying to get the message out of basically what everything is, what we're all trying to do, what this mission is all about, is helping others. But I also do some real estate. I'm developing an RV park still, so I still have my real estate going on. But mostly this is what I want to do. I'm writing multiple books that are about halfway through. This was my first one. And so really all I want to do is I want to speak and I want to write. If I could just do those two, you know, I'd be
How beautiful is that?
happy. Yes.
Coming from the life that you lived and gone through.
Yes.
How beautiful is that?
I think it's amazing. I think it's, you know, I once saw this saying that you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect them when you look back.
That is
I think
correct.
It was Steve Jobs. I'm not sure.
That is correct.
Yeah. And you don't know where your life is going. But in my experience, trusting God, He always has something better for me than I could have ever imagined. And so that's really what I try to do now. Yeah.
So it was such a pleasure having you on. I mean,
Thank you.
Tremendous story, a tremendous course of life that you've gone through, and the adversity that you faced, and you made it through.
Thank you.
What advice would you give the audience about life? If they're struggling.
You can never give up hope for a better life. I believe that you can always turn your life around, even in the most hopeless situations. And I also want the audience to know that in my opinion, the quickest way to heal from a very traumatic past is to find the courage to begin sharing it openly in a safe environment. When you break the walls of your silence and your isolation, that's when you start forming connection and compassion and community with others, and that leads you to your purpose, and you find out who you are again. And I'm all about helping people heal from their childhood, basically. I mean, it always
beautiful.
starts in
That's
our childhood.
That's a beautiful thing, and that's great advice, Candi.
Candi,
thank you so much for coming on. Please read the book, Naked by Candi Rose.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.